Good afternoon, or good evening, or good day to everyone from any part of the world you are joining us from. I think this should be I think day three of the Empowering Youth for Climate Advocacy. And yes, we'll be having a thorough session on forest management as a tool for climate advocacy. Why forest management? I think these are some of the things that we'll have time to look into. So about me, I think a lot of people know me, but I think some of you might not really know me. So I'm a chemical engineer by profession, but I'm also into development. Then I also teach in several universities based on contacts from companies and organizations. And I'm also a co-founder of several initiatives, amongst them Life Learning and Afrodat. And I offer a lot of coaching to startup and to young ones in different areas. I do a lot of things that has to do with decarbonization, strategy, hydrogen economy, green economy, circular economy. And I think some of the things you hear from this talk will give you some insight into what this is all about. So what you will learn from this session are pretty simple. We'll talk about the climate system. We'll talk about CO2 emission and where it comes from and the effects. We'll talk about the human actions and the effects. What science is telling us. I have a video where we can really see what researchers are doing when it comes to forest management, using it to solve climate change issues. And how forests play a key role in climate mitigation. So if I may ask, what are the components of climate system? Please, you can answer at random. You can put on your microphone to answer. You can write in the chat. Feel free. So what are the components of the climate system? Don't be shy. So maybe I should put on my camera. So what are the components of climate system? Any answer is allowed. So just give it a try.
I can give some examples.
Go ahead, please.
Land surface or atmosphere.
Great, great. Okay, thank you. So we also have okay, climate advocacy, climate finance. Okay, okay. These are not components of climate system. Great. Atmosphere, hydrosphere, aerosphere, lithosphere, and biosphere. Thank you, Adekunle. Thank you. So I think atmosphere, hydrosphere, aerosphere, lithosphere, and biosphere. So let's go to see how they exist. Thank you for all these answers. So, so we pretty know that here we have the atmosphere. So we have the oceans, and we have the biosphere. So we have the land. So that has to do with different structures. And we also have the cryosphere. So this provides us with the understanding that the climate system is a system of several systems. So for example, when we take the cryosphere, for example, we mean the ice sheet, we mean the sea, the ocean, we mean, because they melt to have the hydrosphere, which is the ocean, you know. So the ice, they melt to have the ocean, you have the hydrosphere. So you also have the cryosphere, which has to do with the aspect of land and other aspects. Then you have the atmosphere, which is, let's say, above the land, which is the air and other composition, chemical composition that you have. And you have several effects of all this. So you have the human influence, you have the glaciers, you have the volcanic eruptions, you have the cloud, you have different things. So all these atmosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, cryosphere, they all make the components of the climate system. So when we continue, you will be able to see how they all interact. They interact simultaneously and sometimes independently, but they have a lot of effect on one another. So going further, I think I will want Natasha to share the Menti link where we have what are the causes of global warming? So a quick question, what are the causes of global warming? So I'll stop sharing, I'll go to the Menti, then everyone, let's see the answers from everyone. So great. We're already having good responses. So great. Yeah. So what are the causes of global warming? So we have climate change, okay, deforestation, transport and vehicles, CO2 emission, air pollution. So we have 4 responses. So we want more. If we have to, if we get up to 10, I think that's a good number. So what are the causes of global warming? Carbon dioxide, thank you. Climate gender injustice, great, fantastic. Industrialization, good. Manufacturing goods, farming, pollution, producing food, greenhouse gases, great. So one more. So we just one more response. So when we have one more, then we can go on. As soon as it's up to 10, I think we can go on. We have 21 people here, so I think we should have more responses.
Actually, someone wrote in the chat, but not.
Chat?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
first of all, okay, first of all, no recycling of waste products. Okay, good. Okay, so we have in total 11. Okay, so let's move on. Thank you. Good. So this gives us an overview of the domain we are dealing with. Good. Okay, so let's move on. So here I have a chart that illustrates the human caused global warming and climate change. So you have the causes, you have the effects, and you have the feedback. So let's take it one after the other. So we have combustion of fossil fuel. We have in agricultural sector some of the effects of our fertilizer usage, some of the effects of animal keeping. So there's a lot around this, where you have CO2 emission from also farm produce. You have deforestation, and all these cause greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases, we mean carbon dioxide, methane, so which you can find in many farms, and nitrous oxide, which you can also find in many farms, water vapor. So what is the main effects? So you have global warming and resultant climate change. Then when you now want to break it down, so you have extreme weather, which has direct harm to safety and health. You have crop and infrastructure failure. You have sea level rise. You have human migration, conflicts, and you have invasive species movement, biodiversity loss, and the likes. So these are some of the feedback that you see, and this gives you an overview of the global warming, climate change, causes, effect feedback. Now, having this in mind, what we know is that since 1900, when this data were being collated, it has been observed that from 1900 down to up to this moment, we continuously have CO2 increase. We have CO2 increase. And when we have CO2 increase, it was also observed that we have increase in the temperature of the globe. So that means the more we have CO2 increase into the atmosphere, the more we have the increase in global temperature, so which is the global warming. So this gives you an indicator that the effect of us having CO2 emission produce or result into increasing the temperature of the globe. Do we have any question? Good. Now, going further, so we know that CO2 and other greenhouse gases, especially CO2, they result in the warming of the earth. And when we have this, we have situations like this. Wildfire in Australia because of high temperature in the forest. We have the melting of the polar region. You can see everything is getting to melt. And this will result into what? Flooding in some areas, in some part of the world. At the same time, when there is high temperature, you have arid areas, places that are more or less like even rivers, they become arid. And all these are some of the effects which we know and which we can see. Now, going further, the CO2 emission, like I said, is a continuous process in increments. So this is the data up to 2018. So from 1958 down to 2018, you have the increase in CO2. And one of the major reasons is global dependence on fossil fuel, that is the combustion of fossil fuel, and industrial processes. You know, we do a lot of cement production, iron and steel production, manufacturing, all those things, they emit a lot of CO2. Now, going further, let's look at the global data, which are very current as far as countries that are the largest emitter of CO2. And what has happened in 2021 compared to 2010. So as you can see, this is China. So China had increments in 2021 based on what they had in 2010. USA had reduction based on what they had in 2010. India had increments. So let's go to Germany. So Germany had reduction. So when you look at a lot of countries that are having reduction between 2021 and 2010, that shows that they're already making some mitigation strategies, some efforts to help to reduce the CO2 emission based on different processes that we've mentioned earlier on. Let's look at this data again. I like to work with data a lot. And let's look at what is happening globally. So when you look at Africa, South and Central America, Middle East, Europe, North America, Asia Pacific, and the Commonwealth of Independent States. What gives us more information here is that Asia Pacific are the largest emitter of CO2, which as a result of China. Then followed by North America, USA in particular. Then we can now move to Europe. Germany as a major country that's emits CO2. Then you look at maybe the Middle East. You look at South America. No, okay. Before that, you have the Commonwealth of Independent States. Then you now look at Africa. So you can see Africa play less role. In fact, it's less than 3% of the global emission. So this gives us the opportunity to see that no matter how different countries tries to reduce, while some are still emitting, it has an effect on every one of us. It's an equal effect on everyone. So we need to do something, and this is the reason why we're here. So let's take a look at the CO2 emission and wealth. So we know some wealthy countries, as you can see, this is gross domestic product, so purchasing power, parity per capita. So we know the rich countries are in this zone: Russia, Saudi Arabia, Australia, Canada, USA, Luxembourg, and the likes. So they are the major emitters. But when you look at the countries that are not that rich, so Chad, Congo, Ethiopia, Bangladesh, Kenya, Nigeria, Pakistan, they emit less CO2. Ghana and the likes, Angola, so Vietnam. So India should be categorized as one of the emitters, not that rich, but one of the emitters. So this provides us with an indication that industrialized nations are the largest emitters of CO2 because they depend on fossil fuel to develop their economy. And in that case, they will be polluting the atmosphere. So going further, let's look at the industrial age when we have different industrial revolution. So we look at the industrial revolution from 1850, which was based on coal. And from 1900, it was based on oil. And from 1950, it was based on gas. Then we have cement production to along the line from 1952. So it shows you that this fuel mix are the major emitters of CO2, and many advanced nations have built their nation infrastructure on this fossil fuel. And this is why we have the largest set of emission from them. So it's a moral obligation on all these nations to support the global climate action.